Hello, welcome to another part of the railway. And when I was running it last week, I'd got the shuttle running on here. It's running quite nicely up and down, only on the little diesel shunter, but it didn't look realistic enough. So I've now widened the viaduct, and I want to work just putting the backboards on. So, and I want to know how high, so that would sit on the, so I actually am going to try and speed some of the build up as well. So I've decided to purchase one of these metcalfe kits, and this is one of the factories, and that factory is going to go along this back here, which will then hide the train when it's sat at this end of the sort of the viaduct, and then at this end of the viaduct I'm hoping to get a station platform on here, a low level station building just along there. This layout is back to front, by the way, is so I could work on the back of the layout, and I've just turned it all around at the moment, but yeah, so that's why it looks a little bit different to normal. But yeah, I think if I built a platform all the way along there, I think the brake is there, so it would come along, should stop itself roughly along there, and then I think that would look fine with just a platform there, sort of a low relief station going across. Stick the backboards on, and from the front of the layout it wouldn't look really too much out of place. So that's where I'm going to go, but then I'd have the station platform, then we can have some a wall in here, or a fence, you know, maybe probably just the same sort of viaduct wall going across. All this is grass and bushes sort of thing, so so we would have all the grass and bushes going along, and then just a wall, so it sort of hides it, gives it a bit more depth as well on the layout. And that's, I think, what I was lacking when I built this viaduct. I should have built it, you know, as wide as this. This would be 2-track if I wanted it, but I don't want it, you know. Yeah, I think just single track viaduct is fine. So, but that's where I want to sort of start to concentrate on, and I've got this metcalfe building to work on as well this week to try and get that done. And I want to try and sort of speed up a little bit on the building side, because it's taking a long time to build anything at the moment. I've had a lot of things going off, and I've just not been able to just spend as much time as I need to on the layout building it. Hi, as you can see, I've got majority of this all back in place. I've actually been doing a bit of tidying up on some of the wiring, and it's really where the shuttle system is. So I just had some wires dangling down before I joined all the boards together, and I did see on the instructions for the shuttle system you can actually use the diodes. So I've decided to, instead of having the 2 extra cables going from the east and west side to the controller, you can just use the diode. So I've decided to just put the diode in. Saves running an extra cable across. So I'm going to run a lead from there up to the D connector just at the top there. So at the moment this is a 6-way D connector, and I'm going to swap these for an 8-way, because now we've got 4 really tracks. So we've got the viaduct, got the fiddle yard, and then I've got an inner and outer running line. So I need to now spend an evening rewiring all these into an 8-way. I bought all the 8-ways ready to do it, so it's just going to take time. But the backboards are on all right. I've made them 14 inches tall, and that will just give me just enough space to get around to to the back of the layout, and also gives a nice realistic sort of height to it, so when I've got some tall buildings it's not going to be over the boards at the back. So I'm going to get this one back into place, and then that's it for the evening. Not sure, so as you can see I've been working since about 5 o'clock on this, and now it's just gone 9:15. I haven't had any dinner yet. I'm going to go and get some dinner and start building that metcalfe kit. Right, I've made a start with this metcalfe kit, and this is what I'm using. So this is the it can either be a full building or a low relief building. I'm building it as a low relief building, same as we've got on the front here, and it's just going to go along the back of the viaduct, and then the locomotive will run behind it, stop, and then go back the other way. That's the idea, so you don't really see that it's stopped there. And I was just going through the start of the instructions, and it says cut out all your windows, glue them up to all the window backs. So I've done all that. That took quite a while, and now I've just got to fit them all to this front gable, which I think is this section here from what I can see. And there's a lot of windows. There's quite a lot to do on this kit. It's quite a big kit, so I'm going to spend a bit of time building this, and we'll come back once it's all done. Well, that's the building nearly finished. That's all the bits from the kit basically, and what I have done is the kit would normally have wanted the middle piece to be right on the end here. I put the bridge at the top. Not sure I should have put it at the top or the next one down. Didn't really matter, but I'm going to have a flat roof on this piece, so I'm going to create a flat roof, probably from 2 of these tiled pieces that come with it, but I'm going to make it very slightly sloped up, so it's not quite a flat roof. But what I've done on the back to give this a bit more depth, because otherwise this would have just sat straight on the back there, would have looked so flat when you was looking at it from the front. So it now gives sort of a passageway as well, you know. So I'm going to then need to sort of put some card on the back to give it a bit more strength and everything like that. And also, if I did want to put lights in there, it's going to stop all the light bleed coming out. But that doesn't look too bad, and that's for the industrial side. So when the train on the shuttle, it's completely hidden basically, and I think that should work quite nice. I've given it a quick test on the layout just to see how it well fits. I'm still waiting for a little bit of the glue to dry, so I don't want to keep handling it or anything like that. So, but I'm going to get the backs sorted, and I'll show you what I'm doing for that, and then get that fixed on. So, but it's not bad. I mean, I'm not overly a big fan of the metcalfe kits because they just look too clean and clinical. But I know you can weather them up and things like that, but it would be nice if they had a little bit of weathered texture on them, you know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe people want them totally clean. But when I do the scale scenes ones, obviously you've got weathering on all the textures. But the scale scenes ones do take you a long time to make. This one was sort of quite quick, you know, a couple of evenings and there it is. Everything is dried completely now, and I did notice I've got a little bit of a gap just along here, so I noticed there was extra joining strips, so I've used those. Well, they weren't extra, there was, depending on how big you want to make the full size one, and I've just put those in, and that's hid any of the gaps quite nicely. So And I think that actually does look quite good, to be honest. I'm going to create a back for this now. I'd actually got these, and I was going to be using them for the viaduct, but there is a bit of a change of plan now on that, so I can utilise the card. So I'm just going to work on a quick and easy draw around, not exact, anything like that, but this is, I'll probably need to just reduce the size, cut in between, you know, I'll get the words out in a minute, just to cut. So I am going to do roof, just trying to think which way round I want to do that roof. I want to do that roof sloping, so I'm going to cut that. I will straighten that off with a ruler. I've run out of card there. I think if I did something like that, always trim a little bit off afterwards. I think I'm going to leave that edges there. Quite a thick card. And what I'll do also is I'm going to cover the back with like a, I was actually thinking about using a just sort of a view like that of the windows, so, but it won't be, you know, it'll just be a photo. So if you was looking at it from the opposite side of the layout, whether you ever would be watching it from that side of the layout, I don't know. I'll use the ruler again. I'll have to trim a little bit off there. I just thought it'd just match up a little bit on the viaduct, you know, the back of the viaduct where the train is. Don't leave me much card left. But the idea that I've left that piece in the middle there, and I want to then put the roof so it slopes like that. So I can put that on there, and then it just gives the impression when you're looking at it from the front, you can see a sloping roof. Don't want it to slope too much because it will just have a big gap here, which you could fill. Could have done it a little bit more of a slope, but I think that'll be alright. But as you can see, like on the back, I could either just fill that with a texture like that, so when you sort of see it from the back, it wouldn't look too odd, you know. And I can also then get the texture and just wrap it round so you don't see this grey edge just on the card there. But before I do actually secure the back, I need to decide on, am I putting any windows in, any lights to come out the windows. So I think I'll light this building up. So I'm going to need to get some 12 volt strips and get a few lights in there. But let me just show you on the layout so you can see how it looks and how it's going to sort of hide the class 121. So I'm hoping to have it something like that. So it's okay, I've not got the wiring now finished for this, but then it should just come along, stop about there. Okay, you won't see through these windows because it will have the cold back, and then reverse back. So it should give you a bit of an impression. I mean, I don't have to have that here, I could have that right up against there. There will be a board along here as well, same as the backdrops. Just got to get some more board from B&Q, but so even if the board was here, you know, you wouldn't actually see it then. And I think that's a pretty good sized building. Yeah, I also want to get this working on the shuttle system. So I've ordered a CD motor for this, and I'm going to have a go fitting a CD motor in this one. It's had the extra pickups fitted, so it should work quite nicely. So you can hopefully see me having some fun trying to fit this CD motor once it arrives. Right, as you can see, everything's in a bit of a mess on my desk. Wire and bits and bobs. I've been using these LEDs to put into the building. I've got everything in there now. I'm just gluing in the LEDs. They are self-adhesive, but the problem is with it just peels straight back off. So I always put a drop of glue on, hold them in with a peg. I've put a couple of lighting buses just on each side, so it makes it a lot easier to just wire them all too. So, and then I can just wire it up to one wire out the bottom of the model really. And it's just, as you put each one on, I've just been testing it with the battery, and you can see I've not lit every floor, don't want to do that. I just want to light a few odd random windows. So really I'm just going to let that all dry, the glue, then get the back on it. Now where did I put that back? Okay, so what I've got is the back that I made. There is it completely. And I've decided to just cover it with a brick texture, pulled it around the edges so you don't see the grey on the edges there, and that will just look okay. So if you're looking around the back of the building, you'll just see a brick colour, you know, but that's right up against the viaduct anyway, so I'm quite happy with that. I do have more of these LED strip lights, but I'm not sure where they are, but I've got had enough for doing this. Each board is going to have its own small power supply, and I'm just going to put a 9-volt battery to power the lights on each board this time, rather than wiring a power supply in, because I need more connections to each board. And I just at the moment I don't have any more connectors to do this, so I'm thinking of making it just each board have its own small power supply, maybe put a switch in, or just have the battery so you connect it up and it turns on. The other option I've got is to power them from DCC, and I could just power them off the DCC bus then, you know, which would be quite nice. But I don't always use DCC on this layout. Sometimes it's DC or sometimes it's DCC. So I think just running a 9-volt battery is going to be the best option. and it's bright enough on the 9-volt battery. So these are designed for 12 volt, but 9 volts are perfect. So I'm also like to put on the fuel depot. I just put one of these at the back of the fuel depot there, so when it's on the layout you don't actually see that on the back, and then you get this nice light all the sort of the fuel depot, and it looks like then the fluorescent lights working. You can buy small LEDs for those fluorescent lights, but it costs a fortune, and these are really cheap. A long strip of these. So I'm going to put the lighting next on the fuel depot, and I've been working on the fuel depot hard standing as well, but I mean that's somewhere in this mess. So but that's the where I am at the moment. It's just drying the glue. A little bit dark. But I've stuck down the lighting strip there, put some wires on that. I've also added it onto the hard standing that I want to use for the fuel depot. And if I just get these looking, you'll see how I sort of explain with the light. So you can see you get a nice sort of light coming down. It probably looks a little bit brighter on the camera than actually is, but it sort of gives an impression of it's shining straight down from there. If you look at the back, obviously it is a lot brighter, but from the front I think that looks quite good. So I need to get that on the layout, but there's still a little bit of glue just drying on that still, and I've just pulled the wires off trying to demo it. So all I've done is just tidied the wires up by just gluing them behind the just one of the canopy, screens there. So I'm going to just put a clip on that, let the glue dry, and then install that in there tomorrow. Right, all the glue will have dried on these lights now. So these are self-adhesive, but what I've found is they're very springy, and if you don't glue them on as well, they just spring off. So I always used to use a bit of PVA glue, just 100%. Got a loose wire there, must have been from when I was working on that. I did have an extra light, because when I was sort of looking at it, I just didn't seem to think it was enough lights in the building for a factory. So I thought I'd have more lighting in certain floors, so it gives the impression that I think it's a bit light today to see that, but still comes out on the camera okay, I think. So really it's get the back on, get that little piece of roof on. So I want to make sure that we don't get any light leak, which is crucial. So I've tried to avoid where lighting or where I could get light leak, and if I do get any, I can then just fix just a piece of card just inside there, stop any light coming up, because you don't want light shining through a roof or shining through a wall. And I think if I just glue that on now, we will then, I can then just weigh that down and it will be fine. I'm going to use just this PVA glue, I think. It's quite a good glue. I'm not going to be able to get to the lights after this ever again, all the wiring, that's the downside, but it shouldn't break. There's a LED, I don't expect anything to go wrong. I'm going to put plenty of glue around. I'll never get this back off without destroying everything. I know that floor is slightly short at this one end, so it's not actually going to touch. So I will need to fix that afterwards. So see if I can get this on without it. Right, let's get something to weigh that down. Off there. So I'm just going to use this. Use that cutting board and just a couple of tins to hold it on. Put that on. Anything that I've got that's got some weight to it. I mean, these don't all have a lot of weight, but it should spread the weight over the whole lot anyway then. Right, I just want to leave that to dry. Right, so all I've got left to do is just put in the roof pieces. So I've got these spare pieces from the kit. Slightly too big, so let me see about putting that down a little bit. I'm going to measure it with this one first. That should fit on there okay. I'll put a ridge tile along the back, but let's just trim this. Sorry, the building's in the way. A little bit more. Should have measured really, instead of guessing. Yeah, that all looked fine once I've glued that together. Put a bit of ridge tile on that. So fix those in place. The glue's all dried up. There we go. Glue everywhere. Just came out a bit too quick then. Good thing about this glue, it does dry clear. And I can mat it off with a bit of clear lacquer, matte lacquer afterwards. Should have used the fine applicator. Got glue all over my mat and everything now. But nevertheless, never mind. That is basically finished. So doesn't look too bad, you know. Like I was saying before, I'm not overly fan, but to be honest, I'm growing to like it. And I'm going to get another metcalfe kit as well. I've just ordered it at the moment, and that's going to go behind this on, so it's becomes like a loading platform, more factory. So I'll show you that probably next week, because I'm not going to get it this week. What I've also been doing is just putting some lights in this porter cabin, and I've also done some lights for the signal box. I did order an interior for the signal box, because if you're going to light a building, you really want to put some interior in there. And I ordered the Metcalfe frame lever kit, and I was delivered a greenhouse. So I've sent that back. So I'm going to pop down to the local model shop on Saturday and just pick a kit up for that. But I'm going to still install it, but I'll leave the roof loose so I can then just pop the kit inside and then do that. But what I've got for the interior of this is I've got a couple of little detailing items. I've got some a little office chair, signalman's desk, and a canteen table and chairs. Now, I know the canteen table and chairs, I've used these in the past and look quite good in here, but they're slightly under scale, the more, I'd say, HO scale. These are more in scale, and I've used these before. I've not used this one before, and this is actually really a HO American or European more, but as it's going to be sort of sat in this office, you're not going to really notice that he's not quite a British Rail uniform, but being in the blue uniform looks actually right. So I'm going to just open this up. Is it taped? I think so. How's it coming out? Now we do have some tape on the bottom there. And he's come loose. So he is loose. So what I want to do is put that so you can, if you're looking through the door, you'll sort of see it with the lights on. And then I can put him up against that desk there, I think. So that's one item that I don't need to do much work on. I can just put a bit of PVA glue on the bottom of the, in fact, I'll put a little bit on this. My glue's dried up in this heat. Oop. And then huge amount come out. I've got it all over the everything. But good thing with PVA is it does dry nice and clear. So that's just in there. When I got all the rest of these in there, I'll show you. I'm going to just get these painted up now. So where's all my paints? But give me a few minutes and I'll get these painted. I'm going to do this one, table and chairs, black legs, white top. I think the same with the chairs, something like that. It's like a small canteen. I think that should look quite good. And there's all the detail inside. So I've got the signalman's desk. I just put a couch in front. I've not needed to put anything on the desk. You've got that canteen table and chairs there. I've decided to paint in sort of a blue colour. don't need to be that accurate on the painting. A little bit of glue left to dry, but I think that should be okay. And then once the lid's on and it's lit up, you'll see the detail, but without it being lit up, it's quite hard to see what's in the cabin. So I'm going to get the drill, just dropping a hole through, get the wires in, glue the lid on, and get this on the layout. Got to decide where I'm going to put it before I completely fix it down, but I think that looks quite good. This is how I normally do them. I decided this person there at the door, he was actually in a green high vis. It didn't really look right, so I just painted it blue as part of the train crew. So this is sort of a 1970s, 1980s train crew room. So, well, that's the building in place. Well, it's not fixed in place anything, but that's how I sort of want it to look. And I'm going to put another building here, another mill building. So the road comes along, round and back. I still haven't made the second half of this. I know I said I was going to do that, and haven't got around to it. I want to put a building, a low relief building at the back here. So just behind where the mill is, and that will have a loading platform on for goods, and I think it will look quite good. It's just a Metcalfe small factory, but that's about 100 and something mil wide, so I'm going to reduce that to 60 mil because that's all I've got to use there. So as soon as that arrives on Monday, I'll start work on that, and I think that will look quite good. I've got some walling to put here now, and I need to make this. I was thinking, do I do a slope down to a road system, but I'm going to put an archway here so the road goes underneath and like it follows the railway as and I think that would look better than a slope all the way down. But I could always change my mind afterwards and put a slope in if I wanted to. But I'm pretty confident that that's how I think it should look. I've installed the fuel depot, and wasn't sure whether to have the porter cabin sort of round here or something like that, but I've decided I'm going to put it at the back here, so about like that. And then obviously we've got the engine shed and other detailing items to go on there, so you're not really going to see a lot inside once I light it up anyway. So I did all that detailing, and then it's sort of hard to see unless you're really having a look at sort of eye level view straight across, which I'm not sure you will be up to once I put the diesel shed in there. So I've got to think exactly where I do put this because I want to see the detail. Well, maybe it's worth putting somewhere, you know, like that instead on this board then. Yeah. One of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to get where the road surface sort of going to be and paint all that grey. I'm going to get all that painted grey with some texture on it, and then when I come to do the weathering, I can weather a bit of that in at the same time. And I'm going to do the same on the upper deck there. But before I do that, I am going to paint everything sort of grey, black, quite a dark grey underneath, so it's quite dark when the trains go through. So I'm going to just remove all this lot now, get it painted underneath. I might mark out sort of roughly where I would have a road sort of thing anyway, and then I can just give that a paint and leave the rest, so I can create pavements and things like that. So what I want to try and do is get some quite dark grey paint on here. I'll do this one board at a time. Just where sort of I want this tarmac to be. So I'll come right up to the edge of the hard standing. And then before it dries, which is drying very quickly at the moment, the plan is to sprinkle some of this Pico road surface over it. I did this on the N-gauge one and it seemed to work quite nicely. Although it didn't stick, because I think it was drying a bit too quick then as well. And don't need it to be totally perfect. Road surfaces on. Showing those brush strokes, so I might change the brush. I'm going to always fix that a little bit. And if you normally follow me, nothing ever seems to go exactly to plan. I always have to sort of think on my feet and think of something else, you know, that's going to work. Let's try that again on the other piece. I've got a different brush this time, so a slight bit of water in here and now. That's it. It's just drying so fast. Doesn't matter if I go over all the edges, because I can then add some texture or something into where the grass is or something else. So it's not asked to be 100% exactly how I want the layout, you know, road. Let's just try now. It's that fine, it just sort of comes straight through the straightener. Now in the past I've actually used like engaged ballast. That gives a nice texture and you just repaint over the top. So I may sort of look at that as well. I think I'm going to have to redo because of those brush marks, so I'm going to restart that one. I think that'll be better. So I'll just give that another Try and get some texture. Right, I'm going to go on all the rest of this and get it all painted and some texture on it, and hopefully it won't look too bad once it's dried. Well, now all the paint's dry and everything, it's gone very, very patchy, and so I'm going to have a little thing, and I'm just going to brush anything that's loose, so it gives it a smoother look. Now I'm going to make this a bit darker. So it's quite a bit loose actually. I was expecting it to be as loose as that. So must have been just because the paint dried so quick because of all the heat and everything. So just going to get the rest of this. And one thing I noticed, let me just take the camera off, that when I was doing this piece down the end, I put a bit of PVA glue on there because it was underneath, and I was thinking, well, just test it, and that actually came out quite a nice colour and about right. So I'm going to just soak all this and then put some PVA glue on it. I've already had a go at it on here. Still, obviously you can see some of the PVA glue still, it's very watered down, but that's sort of given me roughly the texture I want. And then once I get some weathering on there, might need to just put a little bit more in there, you know, but I think once I get the weathering as well on that, it will look alright. But once the pavements are on, and the that'll be fine. But just to stop it moving round, I'm just using the same process I would do for ballasting. So giving it a good old soak. I just got to be a bit careful because there's quite a bit of card, yeah. So then I think with just a little bit of watered down PVA over the top, as I did over there, I was put a fair bit on, but what I also did was just sort of spread it around a little bit with a brush, so I'm not going to lose any of the sort of texture. think that's going to work. I can always paint over it and add how I've done texture in the past for double O gauge, which was add some very thin sort of layer of N-gauge ballast with a bit of PVA glue, and then just paint over it again and then weather it. So, but I'm determined to make this work. I think this should. It's just I don't want brush marks or anything like that. I just want to spread the glue with this sort of the sulphate texture over the top. And there's no real telling until it's totally dried, so I'm going to check that. Maybe later today it'll run dried, but also definitely in the morning. Well, I've got all the pavement laid out now. It's just basic tile at the moment. The road texture worked quite well on this. I'll show you the road texture on the main layout in a minute. That didn't work out quite as well, so that needs a little bit more work. But I'm quite happy how that's looked. I do need to just put in an extra piece of card there, I missed that bit. And I've got another building to go in the middle here. Nice, big. And it's going to be probably one of these metcalfe buildings. I haven't bought it yet. I'm going to make that into a full building that fits in the middle here. Maybe use the bridge across, something like that. There will be a back, well, a side piece on that goes on here as well, and that will then have the back scene on it to just give it a feel that it doesn't just drop off a cliff. But I don't want to overdo the buildings because I think it'll just look over the top. I'm just starting to, I've just photoshopped all the new pieces for this back piece at the moment. So I'm going to start on that very shortly. I've decided that where the road system goes, I'm just going to do it as like an underpass. But I have left my options open, so if I change my mind I can throw that away, get rid of that, and then have the road coming down. So it's not going to be the end of the world if it doesn't work, so I can always change my mind on that. And I would probably come out and then drop down. I think that might be the easiest way, but I don't know whether that would look any good. But at the moment I've decided to just go with that plan. So it's just going to have an arch there. I'm going to carry on the wall going across, and then we're going to have the girder bridges going across from there, with just some pillars going down to support the girder bridge. And that's about it really on there. So on the road, I was just saying, on the it's gone okay. It's got a nice surface texture on it, but I think it's just a bit too patchy. and the same on this service road that I've done on the front of the layout. That's sort of not great at the moment, but I just think as I weather all the tracking, I think once I weather the tracking and weather the road in, it'll probably look okay after that. So, but I've got a bit more work to do. There's a lot of wiring to do at the moment, because I've sort of half wired the viaduct. I had it, when I was at it running, I had it just wires dangling all over the place. Now I've wired it in properly, well, half wired it in properly. I need to just finish that wiring so I can get that back up and running. But it means changing quite a lot on the wiring to do that. I hope you enjoyed watching this week's episode. Not as much done as I really wanted to. Again, it's just time, and some of these jobs did take quite a long time to do. But hopefully I will see you on the next video, and I wish you a very good evening, a very good rest of the day, and take care.